There are moments in life when you feel like you're trying to climb a mountain barefoot, where every step feels heavy, every breath feels forced, and every voice around you tells you to stop. These voices, wrapped in criticism and cloaked in doubt, often come not from strangers but from those closest to us. People who drain your energy not because you're weak, but because their own hearts are heavy with bitterness, jealousy, or unresolved pain. And yet, we are expected to smile, to remain calm, and to stay kind. But how do you protect your peace in a world that constantly tests it? How do you bloom when negativity surrounds you like winter? The answer lies not in reacting but in rising, not in proving but in preserving, and not in matching their energy but mastering your own. You were not created to absorb everyone else's darkness. You were born to shine despite it. And that light, your light, deserves to be protected. So today, I will take you through the smart ways to deal with negative people, not by fighting them, not by fixing them, but by freeing yourself from their grip without losing your grace. Learn the art of emotional detachment. There comes a moment when you realize not everyone around you claps for your success with clean hands. Some wear smiles like masks, hiding bitterness behind borrowed kindness. If you absorb every word they throw, every insult they whisper, and every doubt they plant, you begin to lose the rhythm of your own heartbeat. Detachment does not mean you stop feeling. It means you stop bleeding every time someone scratches the surface of your soul. You have to learn to be the calm in the middle of their storm. Because their thunder is loud only when your silence gives it space. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. It is the wisdom to know that your peace is far too expensive to spend on temporary people who thrive on chaos. You don't walk away from them with hate. You walk away from them with healing. Detach from the need to be understood by those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Some people will twist your truth, question your smile, and belittle your fire just to feel tall beside you. But the mountain does not shrink just because someone standing at its base refuses to look up. When they throw bitterness, detach. When they provoke you to anger, detach. When they gossip and you hear your name tangled in their lies, detach. Because your value is not tied to their volume. Their opinion is a mirror of them, not a measure of you. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace. You don't owe them your joy, your calm, or your smile. You can love them and still walk away. You can wish them well and still protect your light. Because emotional detachment is not about cutting people off. It's about cutting off the power they have over your emotions. When someone tries to stain your spirit with their insecurities, breathe. Remember, you are not here to carry what does not belong to you. You are not a landfill for their pain. You are a garden for your own growth. Let your detachment be the fence that protects your peace from unwanted trespassers. You are not cold for choosing distance. You are wise. You are not selfish for protecting your heart. You are learning to pour into yourself without letting someone else's negativity poke holes in your joy. The tree still stands tall even when the wind screams. Be like that. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is not engage. Not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to not need validation from every voice. Detachment is a declaration that you are done explaining your worth to people who can't see beyond their own shadows. There is silence that speaks louder than confrontation. A silence that says, I have heard enough, felt enough, and now I choose to rise above it all. You do not have to stoop down to make someone feel small. Detachment teaches you to remain tall in spirit, even when others try to clip your wings. The truth is, people will speak anyway. Whether you fall, fly, or freeze, their mouths will move. So why tie your joy to their approval? Why shrink your soul to fit into rooms built on resentment? Detachment is your superpower. The art of holding love in your heart but not letting toxicity live in your mind. When your soul starts feeling heavy, ask yourself, who have I given access to my peace? Then take it back. Not with anger, but with wisdom. Not with noise, but with understanding that energy is sacred. and not everyone deserves yours. You will know you are mastering detachment when their chaos no longer steals your sleep, when their absence feels lighter than their presence, when your joy returns quietly, not through revenge, but through release. Detachment is healing disguised as silence. Learn to observe more than you absorb. Feel the vibration of people's words, but don't let it shake the walls of your heart. Your emotions are not their playground. Your mind is not their battlefield. Choose what enters. Choose what stays. Detachment gives you the power to do both. You are not made to carry everyone. Some people are lessons, not lifelines. Bless them, release them, and keep walking with your soul intact. You are not wrong for choosing distance over damage. You are just finally choosing you. Respond with silence, not reaction. There is a power in silence that no loud voice can match. It is in that moment when someone throws a dagger of words and you smile without bleeding that you begin to understand strength is not how loud you roar, but how still you stand. Silence is not weakness. It is wisdom dressed in grace. Every time someone tries to provoke you, you're presented with two choices: to engage or to evolve. Most people react because their ego feels wounded. But silence whispers, you are not here to attend every argument you are invited to. You are here to protect your peace like a sacred prayer. You see, reaction gives them control. It allows their chaos to hijack your calm. But silence? Silence keeps your power close to your chest. It tells the world you are not here to perform your pain on their stage. You are here to write your story in quiet resilience. They will call you names. They will twist your kindness into weakness. They will test your limits just to see if they can make you shatter. But your silence will echo louder than any insult. Your peace will be the loudest protest to their noise. There's something deeply powerful about watching someone try to hurt you and knowing you are no longer the version of yourself who breaks. You've outgrown the need to clap back. You've risen above the games. Silence becomes your armor, not because you're afraid, but because you're done bleeding for people who aren't even listening. Not every battle deserves your sword. Some deserve your stillness. Because silence is where your strength gathers itself again. It's where you regain your clarity. It's where you remind yourself, I am not defined by someone else's chaos. I am the calm before and after every storm. People will poke your wounds just to see if you'll bleed for their entertainment. But when you stay silent, when you choose not to react, you disrupt the cycle of drama they depend on. You take away the fire they crave, and suddenly your silence becomes the loudest lesson they'll ever hear. It's not easy to stay silent when you're burning inside, but that's when you need it the most. Because silence gives you time to heal before you speak. Time to respond from your higher self, not your hurt self. Time to protect your energy instead of scattering it in every direction. When you refuse to react, you teach people how they can and cannot treat you. You set a standard not with words, but with grace. Silence is your way of saying, I don't argue with pain, I rise above it. I don't entertain disrespect, I walk away from it. I don't explain my worth, I embody it. There is elegance in silence. It doesn't mean you're suppressing your feelings, it means you're channeling them into something better than noise, into growth, into reflection, into the peace of knowing that you are becoming stronger with every moment you choose stillness over chaos. Your silence is not empty. It's filled with the echoes of lessons learned, boundaries built, and power reclaimed. It is not the absence of voice, it is the presence of inner peace. The presence of a soul that no longer needs to shout to be heard. Reacting might feel satisfying for a moment, but peace lasts longer. The quiet strength you build through silence creates a sanctuary in your soul that no negativity can invade. You become untouchable, no, because you fight harder, but because you fight less. Sometimes the best response is no response. Sometimes the best way to win is not to play. Let them talk, let them assume. Let them create storms in their own minds. You stay rooted in your silence, grounded in your grace, and focused on your growth. The power of silence is not in hiding, it's in rising. It is the choice to live above the noise, to smile through the chaos, and to protect your spirit like it's made of gold, and it is. Your silence will not go unnoticed. One day, they will realize that your lack of reaction was not weakness, but wisdom they couldn't understand at the time. But you'll already be too far into your peace to care. Set boundaries without guilt. There comes a time when you realize that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay, and not everyone who smiles at you is truly happy for you. In that realization, you begin to understand the importance of protecting your peace like a sacred garden. Boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They are doors that only the respectful are allowed to walk through. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. The world may try to convince you that choosing yourself is wrong, that saying no is rude, that walking away from toxic patterns is dramatic. But what the world forgets is that your soul cannot breathe in places where your worth is constantly questioned. Boundaries give your soul the space it needs to grow. You are not responsible for fixing broken people who use their pain to justify bad behavior. You can be kind and still walk away. You can be compassionate and still choose distance. You can be loving and still refuse to shrink for someone else's comfort. That is the power of boundaries. They let you love without losing yourself. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, "This is not okay with me," even when your voice shakes, even when the person you're saying it to is someone you care about. Because your healing cannot wait for their approval. Your joy cannot depend on their permission. Boundaries remind the world that your energy has value. People will test your limits. They will push, manipulate, guilt trip, and even make you question your right to protect your heart. But you're not here to be available to everyone. You are here to be whole. And that wholeness comes from the courage to say enough. Not in anger, but in truth. Boundaries are not about keeping people out. They're about keeping yourself in your peace, in your joy, in your dignity. When someone crosses the line, it is not your job to build a longer bridge. It is your responsibility to draw a clearer line. Because the ones who truly care will understand. And the ones who don't never really did. You do not need to explain your boundaries to those who keep disrespecting them. Repeating yourself becomes a dance of self-abandonment. At some point, silence becomes your answer and distance becomes your decision. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. Yes, it will hurt. Saying no will feel like betrayal. Choosing solitude over toxic companionship will feel lonely, but that's where the transformation begins. That's where you meet the version of you who values her own peace enough to walk away from chaos dressed as connection. The people who get angry at your boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none. Let that sink in. Let it remind you that guilt is not a compass, your values are. Let it teach you that you are not cruel for choosing sanity over suffering, truth over tolerance, or healing over history. You are not a rehab for broken people. You are not a second chance for someone who keeps breaking your spirit. You are a living, breathing soul who deserves space to feel safe, heard, and valued. If someone keeps stepping over your peace, step away without apology. There's strength in softness, but there is also power in no. In, "I can't let you speak to me that way." In, "I love you, but I need space." In, "This is not serving my well-being." These are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you are finally listening to yourself louder than the noise around you. Boundaries are an invitation for better relationships, better conversations, better energy. When you begin to value your own presence, you'll stop allowing people to treat you like an option. And that shift will change your life forever. Sometimes, peace looks like declining the call, not replying to the message, canceling the meeting, choosing to rest instead of explaining. You are not obligated to bleed for people who would not even hand you a bandage in return. Boundaries teach you to give from overflow, not emptiness. People may leave when you enforce boundaries. Let them. Because the right ones will never ask you to choose between your peace and their presence. They will walk beside you, not on top of you. And in their presence, you will never feel small. Just to keep the connection alive, you are allowed to outgrow what no longer aligns with your spirit. You are allowed to choose joy over duty, clarity over confusion, and peace over pleasing. Boundaries are not just rules, they are love notes to your soul that say, I will not abandon you again. Be the mirror, not the sponge. There's a reason you feel so exhausted after being around certain people. It's not just the noise, it's the energy you're carrying that doesn't belong to you. You see, when you become a sponge, you soak up their anger, their bitterness, their insecurities, their fear. But life isn't asking you to carry other people's chaos, it's asking you to reflect their truth without losing your own. Being the mirror means you stand grounded in who you are, showing others a reflection of themselves without absorbing their storms. It means you stop trying to fix people who don't want to be healed. You stop internalizing pain that isn't yours. You stop shrinking your joy because someone else is uncomfortable with it. You can be present without being penetrated by their negativity. You can listen without losing your light. You can care without carrying. Mirrors reflect light. They don't hold on to darkness. And when someone brings their poison to your peace, you don't have to drink it to show empathy. Empathy is not self-destruction. Caring does not mean collapsing. You can feel someone's pain without turning it into your identity. You can witness their storm and still remain dry. That is the sacred difference between a mirror and a sponge. You are not obligated to dim your light for someone who refuses to open their eyes. If your presence triggers someone else's wounds, that's not your fault. Mirrors don't apologize for the reflection they show. They simply exist. And in their clarity, they invite others to see the truth. Don't let their projections become your prison. When someone lashes out, it often has more to do with their pain than your presence. A mirror doesn't retaliate. It simply reflects what is. Be that calm, clear presence that holds space without holding baggage. You were never meant to be the emotional dumping ground for people who won't do the work to heal. You were meant to inspire, to uplift, to reflect hope. And that reflection must begin within. You cannot reflect light if you are drowning in someone else's darkness. It's not your job to absorb every emotion that walks into the room. Emotional responsibility is a two-way street. When you start to feel overwhelmed by someone's energy, ask yourself, am I being a mirror or a sponge? The answer will tell you where your peace is leaking. Being a mirror doesn't mean you're distant, it means you're discerning. You give love without self-loss. You offer support without self-sacrifice. You show up, but you don't disappear. You reflect, but you don't absorb. And in that balance, you find freedom. Some people are so used to others soaking up their negativity that when they meet a mirror, they get uncomfortable. That discomfort is not your burden. It's their opportunity for self-reflection. Let them sit with it. Let them learn from it. Let your presence be their mirror. You don't owe anyone the version of yourself that sacrifices your peace to make them comfortable. You don't have to prove your loyalty by becoming their emotional sponge. Your worth is not in how much pain you carry, it's in how much light you reflect. There is quiet strength in being a mirror. A strength that doesn't yell or argue. It simply exists. Strong, clear, unshakable. And in its presence, truth reveals itself. You don't have to say much when your energy already speaks peace. Protect your light. Reflect their shadow without letting it blur your vision. You are not here to be consumed by darkness. You are here to rise, to shine, and to help others do the same without losing yourself in the process. When you choose to be a mirror, you teach people how to face themselves. You become the reminder they didn't know they needed. And in that reflection, healing begins not just for them, but for you too. You are not too sensitive. You are deeply aware. You are not weak for feeling, it's your strength. But let your feelings flow through you, not trap you. Let your heart stay open, but not unguarded. Be the mirror, not the sponge at the end of the day. And now, as we come to the heart of it all, let's pause and remember, this life will not always hand you joy wrapped in silk or praise wrapped in gold. More often, it will hand you people who test your kindness, challenge your growth, and pull at the edges of your patience. But that is not where your story ends. That is where your strength begins. The smart way to deal with negative people isn't to fight fire with fire. It isn't to shout louder or prove harder. It is to rise silently, intentionally, and powerfully above it all. You learn the art of emotional detachment not because you are heartless, but because your heart is too precious to be handed to everyone who knocks. You choose silence, not to suppress your truth, but to protect your peace. You set boundaries not because you are cruel, but because your soul deserves space to breathe. And above all, you become the mirror, not the sponge, because carrying everyone's pain was never your purpose. Reflecting light always was. There is a sacred wisdom in walking away without hatred, in loving without attachment, and in protecting your peace like it is your last breath. The world will keep testing your heart, your patience, and your energy, but you are not here to react, you are here to rise. Rise with grace, with dignity, with quiet power. Rise by choosing what nourishes you over what drains you. Rise by being soft where others are hard, and unshakable where others are volatile. Let them talk. Let them project. Let them misunderstand. You stay rooted in your truth. You walk in your calm. You honor your energy. Because the most powerful version of you isn't the one who fights back, it's the one who no longer needs to. So, the next time a storm of negativity surrounds you, don't collapse. Don't absorb. Don't explain. Just remember who you are, a soul full of light, a heart full of fire, a spirit too resilient to be dimmed by noise. Walk away if you must, stand tall if you can, but never ever forget you are allowed to protect your peace, even if it means disappointing those who we were never cheering for you to begin with. That is not selfish. That is survival. That is self-love. And that is smart.